Hello world, your sister is here, ready, open, and as fabulous as possible. I am your sweet Melanie, and you are now listening to Girl What? So at the top of the show, we always start with our drink of the day, and I'm going to have my hostess and friends and sisters introduce what our drink is for the day. Take it over.
Well, I'll start.
Yeah,
Today's drink is called the Blackout. And I am drinking if you can see it, a black martini. But it has stuff in it. So it's not just an out. But the name of the drink is Blackout.
And I'm drinking black wine. I'm not going to say the name of the brand. But just know I did not buy this today. I bought nothing. Okay? This was already in my refrigerator. I did not buy anything. I wanted that disclaimer. Go ahead, Kiki.
Well, I'm your girl, Kiki Butler, and I'm drinking some good old-fashioned blackout iced tea that I did not buy today. So yes, I am drinking some herbal iced tea. Well, no ice, but just tea. I don't like ice in my drinks.
All right. So y'all want to tell the audience, the newbies who may not know who you are, why you're here, other than the fact that y'all my girls.
Well, since I just finished talking, I am your girl, Lady Kiki, and I am here because I work in many different facets of the community. One of my most prevalent is my position in law enforcement. And also I have a mentoring organization, Butler's Angels. So I like working with children and I like to catch the youth while they're young. So between that and I'm on here with my other sisters in life, my life sisters. I also work in the community doing that.
Thank you. And Miss
And
Brown.
I am Misty Brown, no stranger to Girl What? But I'm always here to try to lend a voice on the political pulse, what people are saying, what they're talking about. Civil service is part of my DNA. Being active in that in a myriad of fashions, sorority, on boards of nonprofit organizations, and but my 9 to 5 or 9 to 15, whatever that is working in a government office.
Okay, thank you. And I'm your girl, Mel Shin. I'm the host of this show, Girl What? And we are in the Girl Cave virtually. And so the next thing that's on the agenda is Mel's Moment. And here we go. Mel's Moment. So what have I been up to since our last taping? Well, quite a bit, actually. Most recently, I was on a panel discussion for a watch party called She Did That, which highlights black women entrepreneurs and their journey to success. And so I sat on the panel amongst 4 other beautiful black, God-fearing, gifted business owners. And we had quite a few attendees, and they loved it so much to where we're going to do a part 2. So the next one, I will let the girl cave know. And yeah, it was fun. So that's what I did most recently. I'm going to feature some quick tidbits for decorating. According to housebeautiful.com, whether you have a tiny patio or an expensive garden, it is the perfect time to take full advantage of the warm weather and create a stylish chic backyard patio, which a lot of us are doing now. A lot of us are trying to add some oomph to our backyards because we're home. And so here's some ideas. Tuck away a romantic bench under the shade and add bonus points by matching the cushion fabric with the flower colors in your garden. That'll make it pop. That'll make the color pop. Another thing you can do, choose all white patio surfaces to keep the area cooler when the sun beams down. An all white patio allows the gorgeous florals to pop even more. And for smaller spaces, consider a bistro nook and stools to create a cozy space to enjoy a cup of tea with your iPad or a nightcap. So for those of you that don't know, I am a serial entrepreneur. So one of my ventures is Shin Chic Decor, and I have some very cute items in my outdoor chic collection that you might want to check out on www.shinchicdecor.com. So that's one venture. And then my husband and I, we started a t-shirt boutique where we are expressing ourselves through t-shirts. And so go on our website, check it out. You might find some cute little t-shirts you might like. www.teamshinenterprises.com. So that's all I'm going to share for today. Again, subscribe to my YouTube channel on Girl What, and you can follow us at Team Shin Enterprises on all social media platforms if you just want to find out all of our ventures. And so that's it for me. We're going to get right into hot topics. I want to try to keep this show down to an hour today, although we have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to kind of rush through some stuff. Ladies, chime in if you have some little tidbits you want to add. But it's been quite a few things that have happened since our last show. So let's see. What I want to do, though, because we got a little bit of feedback from the last show, I want to try to focus the beginning part of Hot Topics with topics that don't address our featured topic with Black Lives Matter. And, you know, police brutality and COVID and all of that. So I'm going to save those for later. And I'm just going to highlight the ones that don't really have anything to do with that. So let's see. An interesting fact that I discovered, and some of you may have already known this, and I just had no clue. Did you know that Erykah Badu was a doula? Did you know that Erykah Badu, and for those of you that don't know what a doula is, I have the definition for you. She is someone that is trained to provide continuous physical, emotional, and informational support to a mother before, during, and just after birth. Badu provides the birth services for free. So I already love this chick. Now I really love this chick, okay? Because how cool is that? She's been doing this since 2001. Did y'all know that?
Can I ask a question?
No.
Yeah.
Does she sing to the pregnant birthing mom?
I don't know. She probably does. That's not in black.org, though. That wasn't in the article. But hey, I wouldn't mind her as my doula. That's pretty cool.
She's
Pretty
like
cool.
she'll be a cool doula. I mean, you know.
Yeah, so that just goes to show you, people like myself, you can be a serial entrepreneur in totally different fields, and somehow, some way, it all makes sense. You see that? So I don't know if anybody else knew that, but I didn't, and I was like,
I could have used
that's
her. I was on
That's
bed rest.
very impressive. Go, Badu. You got my vote, honey.
Yeah.
I already love you. I love you more. I love you more now. All right, so that's light news. Let's see what else I got. Most of this stuff. Okay. Poll workers, even though we're going to probably talk about politics, but we probably won't talk about this aspect of it. There is a dire need for poll workers. Florida, we are in line in August to vote for the primaries. We need poll workers. And in order to find out information of how to become one, go to www.eac.gov. I wanted to make that plug. And our cell phones. Did y'all notice on June 16th, everybody's cell phone was out?
Yes, I know.
Well, I tried to dig to find out why, but every article I read had a different explanation. So this is all I could get from it. T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, there was a widespread, they say, of a routing issue affecting voice and text. But ironically, not long after that, there is now a COVID-19 exposure logging feature, which is said to be a contact tracking on your iPhone. I don't have it. Some people do. I don't know. But I don't know if the two connect. I don't know if that's why our phones went out, but something happened. The phones weren't working. And I don't know. I just feel like it's a conspiracy, but that's just me. Anybody else want to elaborate? No? Move on. Why y'all laughing at me? What's funny?
Your conspiracy theory.
Right, your conspiracy.
I think it's a
but you weren't the only one. A lot of people have said it.
You were not.
But notice how I don't have the facts to back it up, so I can't really elaborate. But I did dig to try to find out what was up, and every article said something different. So,
but can I say this? I believe that if they're trying to find me because I've been exposed to COVID, I want them to find me. So, some of it may be very mythy and conspiracy driven, but if that was really the issue, then I don't see what's wrong with it.
That was a tracking mechanism.
I just don't. And then now all of a sudden we got 5G, but I'm gonna leave that alone. I don't know. I can't find the facts on that either. I'm just keeping it real. I can't find the facts.
I give you this. At least you go and try to research. Okay.
I'm trying, but I just know we have it. I don't have it on my phone. I don't think they told me I don't, but I don't really know. It's a lot of stuff happening that I don't know. Okay. All right. We'll leave that alone. Let's see what else. 2020 census, real quick. Y'all need to handle that. What's the website, Misty?
2020census.org, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure that that's correct. It is 2020 census dot. I need to get the URL, the back part to it. We'll come back to that. Let me look that up.
All right. I'm trying to see everything else. Oh, well, this kind of relates to COVID too, but we might not really talk about it. So let me say this. All right, so we are in South Florida. For those of you that don't know, I tape in South Florida. We live in South Florida. And so most of you know Florida is a heavy hitter right now for COVID. And so aside from being a serial entrepreneur, I'm also an educator. Go figure. And so right now it's hot. It's a hot topic trying to figure out what the plan is going to be for our kids going back to school. So it's so serious to where I saw Superintendent of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Alberto Cavallo. He was on CNN today, and he was discussing that although apparently they have made an order that we must go back in August, that the hybrid models that have been suggested by Dade County Public Schools are acceptable. And right now we are in the process of getting parents' input. They've been provided with a survey, trying to find out what will work or what they want to do. And the survey was also given to teachers. So apparently they're doing like a matchmaking process. And what that entails is that each school, from what I gather, will be assessing what their parents want. And based on that, teachers who would rather do virtual teaching will be matched to students whose parents want them to have virtual learning. And then whoever, those children that their parents want them to come back to school, they'll be matched with teachers who are going to be teaching in school face to face. And then there'll be a hybrid in between those two extremes where they're proposing some days you'll be in school and then some days you'll do virtual. So they're still trying to figure it out. But one thing I know about my superintendent, he always has the child in mind. So he's going to do whatever he has to do to make sure that our children are safe, that parents are happy, and that teachers are protected. So anybody want to comment on that?
Well, I definitely will tell you this, just because in the United States, our educational system is not the best when it comes to just the levels, of learning when you compare it to other countries.
Mhm.
It's scary. It's scary. If we were behind now, it's just scary to see where we're going to be when we come out of this. I will say that if you ever wanted to test homeschooling with your children, because I was always interested in that. I always thought, well, how do you homeschool or how do you do that? This probably will be the time if you really know what you're doing and you know about the different curriculums and so on and so forth. But it's going to be scary to know where our children's futures will go from here in education. So.
And I don't have school age children, but I have nieces and nephews. Sorry, guys. Nieces and nephews, and I am afraid for them to go to a public classroom. They have been quarantined, for lack of a better word, since school has been, out since early March, and they're well and running around and playing. And although it was challenging to for the virtual schools for them because they're at such a young age to sit still and focus and pay attention, I just can't imagine sending them back to an environment that that one I can't control, which is
Yes.
okay, but then two, I am not necessarily confident that a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old that is not accustomed to wearing a mask because they've been inside for the most part, that now is forced to wear a mask for hours at a time. I don't see that happening for all kids. Maybe one or two, could sit there all day, but so that concerns me. And then they are coming back to a house with a vulnerable, medically challenged mother and grandparents.
Okay. All right. So since we talked, we this conversation lended itself to COVID. Let me cover all the COVID topics. All right. So when it comes to COVID, as of today, total cases in the U.S. 2,981,602, 131,248 deaths. In Florida or South Florida, that's what I documented. In Miami-Dade, there are 40,265 cases, 1,018 deaths. And this was as of right before this show. In Broward, 17,116 cases, 294 deaths. Palm Beach County, 14,859 cases, 523 deaths.
Wow.
In today's news, there were 2 high-profile individuals that have tested positive. The president of Brazil, who, had a whole bunch of smack to talk and say about COVID, and now he has it. And I'm going to leave it there. And then we have our lovely, my hometown where I was born, Keisha Lance Bottoms of Atlanta, who is now tested positive. So the numbers are growing, obviously. in South Florida. In Florida alone, you know, we're coming into that second wave. Things are starting to get locked back down. We got curfews in place. So we're back to where we were a few months ago, honestly. And I'm trying to cover everything before I have Misty talk locally about COVID. Let's
Definitely
see.
have to be careful about the people that feel that they are not feeling anything, you know, they're asymptomatic, they don't have any symptoms, or very mild, and then they feel better immediately. So they'll think, oh, that wasn't it. Those are the cases that really concern everybody, because you don't know.
Yes.
Just because you feel healthy and you're looking or walking around looking healthy doesn't necessarily mean that you're not a carrier. And we got to sit down somewhere. I mean,
Yeah.
just sit down. If you
Go
don't have
outside,
to be
create
out,
a lovely
be out.
space. Go outside and create a lovely space.
Yeah.
Take up some time, do some stuff in your house, because it's serious. It's not a joke.
If you don't have to go, don't go.
All right, so Misty, what I wanted you to talk about, because you got your hands in the community. How, being that we're now approaching the second wave of COVID, I'm sure you work in the inner city in South Florida and Liberty City area, and so you're kind of in touch with that population. How are they coping? I know a lot of people have lost their jobs. Like, what's the dynamic right now? How can we help?
So that was a loaded question, because you specifically talked about a part of our community that's already vulnerable, in parts of that community in Miami-Dade County. And so it's a community where there already exists food deserts, and a community where there is not a lot of high employment rates. And so anything that would, shake in the fabric, of that particular community, would put it at risk. And COVID has been no exception. Um, I wondered, and just to be vulnerable, a day ago I tested positive for the virus. Have not been a risky type of person, just really out in the streets or doing things without protection, mask, and gloves. But my son became ill, and caring for him gave, hired or I put myself more at risk. I don't have the deathly ill symptoms that he has. But as we speak, my head is pounding like I have a different set of symptoms, but I am positive. And, there's all this talk about quarantining and staying away from people. And what came to my attention, or was what just kind of made me think just out of the box, is that you're talking about homes that are small in nature, and that typically lots of families kind of live together and are together. And how do you quarantine and keep each other safe when one person in the household is positive? And that really stuck with me today, because I can kind of create a false barrier here at home, opening up some windows, turning on one air conditioning unit, staying upstairs. I can create that. But suppose there is no other option. So I believe that that families are suffering in a way that we can't imagine, because again, resources are scarce. These food distribution lines have not gotten any shorter. Testing, thank God, has been brought to neighborhoods now, that people can be tested, where before they were kind of remotely scattered, where if you didn't have transportation, you couldn't even get tested. So we are dealing with a lot of barriers that may have been unforeseen barriers that we're just trying to overcome now. But the numbers are great. We have a hot spots in those areas. And like I said, you can imagine if one person is affected and not showing any symptoms, and they're coming into a household, and they're 5 or 6 people there, little children, grandparents living there, how do you not unfortunately expose people? It's almost where, because of what just happened to me, that the new protocol is wearing a mask in the house. And that's so weird sounding, but we really have to do our best to protect ourselves in ways that are not real comfortable, because I can't breathe with them on, without it. I
Right.
can't breathe. And so yes, the numbers are up. Yes, those populations are extremely vulnerable. We already know their underlying health conditions that we find in our inner cities across this nation, with hypertension and diabetes and heart disease. Those things that affect a lot of people don't know with diabetes, that one of the if you get the flu or something, or pneumonia, and they have to give you steroids, well, steroids actually rises or spikes the levels of insulin in
Mm.
your body, and it further complicates the diabetes, which diabetes affects other organs, your kidneys and other things. And so if you're ever in the hospital, fighting those types of things, they have to balance little steroids to insulin, And so when we're talking about populations that are vulnerable to these types of diseases, um, a pandemic like coronavirus, it's really hitting hard and home.
Oh boy. So I guess like right now, what can we do other than, offer jobs? Is there like a way that they would be able to be notified? Like, are there websites or something that people could be aware of?
Yeah, so I would say tune in to there's lots of stuff out there. For the most part, from what I've been told from medical professionals, like, if you don't have to go nowhere, don't go anywhere. But if you have to go out and if you have to go to work, then protect yourself. Wear your face mask. If you have a shield, even better, and gloves, and the same precautions that we took early on. Don't relax your standards. Right now, if you're out in public, they're asking you to wear a mask in public, because now people are gathering again closer and closer together. If you have to go into grocery stores, do social distancing. Do your best to go early hours when it's not that populated, or later hours when it's not that populated. But follow the guidelines of the CDC. Stop listening to shade tree doctors and our families and and people that's just telling you, oh, it can't hit us. Oh, I don't have no symptoms. Oh, I can't get it. That is so far from the truth. That's why our numbers are high. That's why young people think they're invincible, and they just go out and party, and do things with no mask and no social distancing protocols. It is a true, real virus that has no immunization or cure for. So I implore, our listeners, wherever they are, if we're looking at high profile people that are getting it, but Miss Johnson next door is catching it, and Mr. Jones down the street, and somebody else is burying a loved one with less than 50 people at a funeral service because of this disease. So we have to be very, very careful and listen to what the medical professionals are saying.
Okay. All right. So before we get into the heavy, I'm trying to find my little notes. I
That
wanted
wasn't
to
heavy.
highlight. I said that was heavy, but we got the next thing is real. That's heavy, But what we about to talk about next, it gets racially heated. So, yeah. So before I get into that, I just had one little thing I wanted to recognize. And I'm sure there's way more things to talk about, but we only have a few, we have like an hour tonight. So according to Billboard.com, for the first time in 25-year history, Essence Music Fest was virtual. This was the year that I had planned to go. Unlike most, I have never been, but I was able to go this year. You haven't gone either, Kiki?
No.
We gotta go. You and me gotta go together then.
Yeah. We here,
when it's all gone,
when the world
we gotta
over,
because I've never been. All right,
Me
so but
either.
I did go this year.
Misty.
I went virtual. What'd she say?
Misty.
Me either.
You either, Misty? Oh, the three of us. Let's roll.
Yes. Yes.
When it's opened up and everything's clear, for real. That's my word. We're going. The three of us. Oh my God. Can y'all imagine? Anyway. All right.
No,
So
they imagine they ain't ready.
They ain't ready. So anyway, this year was my first year going virtually. And the 2020 Essence Festival of Culture, they named it Unstoppable Virtual, and it was hosted by Lonnie Love, and it featured one of my favorite DJs other than Silk, D-Nice, and it included A-list performances, summits, and panels from Bruno Mars, which I didn't get to see Bruno Mars, so I missed him. But John Legend, I saw Patti LaBelle, Swiss Beats, Estelle, Dougie Fresh, BBD, Nas, Audra Day, Master P, Tank, and on the spiritual side, on Sundays, I was tuned in. Oh my goodness, Tyler Perry gave the best message. They had the bangers.
And they sold tickets for this.
No, it's free. Everything's free.
I didn't even see an advertisement.
Me either.
It was free. Everything was free, and so I put it on.
They had popcorn and everything in front of my
girl. I had it blasting on the screen. Okay.
Oh man.
I screencast it, and I really was acting like I was at Essence. I really was. But it was PJ Morton, India RV, Kirk Franklin, the Clark sisters, Kiki Sheard, a whole bunch of people. It was lit. Sundays to me were the best.
I'm sure.
They had Pharrell. They interviewed him on Sunday. Oh my goodness, he had a word for you. But yeah,
Tracy, yes, it was amazing. Thank you for rubbing it in our face.
It was. I'm sorry.
I hope they replay it.
I posted it on my pages.
I did not.
Okay. I wasn't paying attention.
It was I know. It was 2 weekends. It was the weekend of June 25th through the 28th and July 2nd through the 5th. So I tuned in on Saturday and Sundays of each week, but it was hot. All right. So now I'm going to drop y'all with some quotes so we can get into racism and police brutality and police reform. Y'all ready?
Some of it y'all ready? Together, but go ahead. Okay.
Ready for the quote? All right. So I pulled this quote because during this time, since we last met, Louis Farrakhan, according to Revolt.com, addressed the world on the 4th of July with a speech entitled The Criterion. So I decided I would pull some quotes from Farrakhan, who probably feels like we should have listened to him. I'm going to drop the quotes, and then we're going to get into the conversation of racism and police brutality. Here we go. So one thing he said, there really can be no peace without justice. There can be no justice without truth. And there can be no truth unless someone rises up to tell you the truth. Okay, that's part A. Get ready for this part. According to News1.com, months after number 45 was elected in 2016, Farrakhan predicted at that time this: the white man is going to push. He's putting in place everything. He's putting in place the very thing that will limit the freedom of others. My message to Mr. Trump, push it real good. Push it so good that Black people say, I'm out of here. I can't take it no more. Anybody? That was a lot.
I wouldn't say it was a lot, but I mean, he's always pushed the envelope with how he speaks. I mean, he says what he says. I mean, just like our president says what he says. The difference is, would it have been accepted from him if he just got up and said anything he wanted to say and then ran for public office? Probably not. Huh?
I said we already know.
Yeah. So, but I will say in the first part of the quote, the first piece you did, there is some truth to that. I mean, it's not something to run from. As a people, I mean, we all know we have things that we need to do and can do better. You know, just in any culture, there's things that can be done better. We just know that over history, it has been shown more graphically, publicly, things that we do to make us look a certain way. And that's not something I made up. That's just what history has shown, that our murders are glorified. And when I say glorified, not in a good way, you know what I mean. Our troubles and woes have been put more out there for people to see. We are not the only people that have ever received government assistance to get on our feet, but it seems as though it's made to look like we get on it and stay on it and abuse it and this and that's when it's really not totally the case. And so people began to see us in a different way. So I think that there is some truth to the first part of the quote that you gave. That's all.
Misty? What happened was.
What had happened was, it makes me go all off in my, I almost said crazy head, but I promise y'all it's not crazy. So Farrakhan is a prophet, and I won't even call him modern day, but you know, he's a prophet of sorts, that has a great following, and part of his statement that he made had some powerful truth.
Yeah.
I don't know, push it till we get out of here to retire, where we're going.
Yeah.
Would
That's
be,
why I said the first part of the quote.
would be my thing. And I read something and I put on my page, I'm paraphrasing it now, but it's like, you know, we were taken from a place that you know, that we know not of, you know, like our homeland, to a place that, you know, that we're not part of, like we, you know. And again, I'm paraphrasing, you know. So it's this thing, like I don't know where he would want us to go, but I understand the premise of what he's saying. It's some heavy stuff. I think I shared, I was talking briefly with our host, and she shuts me up when we start getting too deep. But I just said, you know, for a lot of people, including myself, this is the first time that we've really experienced racism, that we see it, and it's so blatant, and it's so, you know, apparent, and not that you haven't felt it little by little in different circumstances, but so blatant and overt, in your face kind of stuff. It's shaking us. It's really shaking the core of people like us that aren't accustomed to it. Farrakhan grew up in a different generation. And so he's like, I'm sick of this. I've been sick of it, you know, and I get it. And we're like, I'm sick of it. And we're like, it's just happening. And I know I should have been sick of it, but it's, you know, it's just, it's a crazy mental, you know, state of mind. I think we're all in, trying to understand history's past, trying
Mhm.
to, make it relevant to, what we're currently experiencing. And it's really, really, um, a struggle. It's painful. It's really painful.
I've had
So
some,
I guess what? Oh, go ahead, Kiki.
I'm sorry, I just, touching on what Misty just said briefly, I've had some deep conversations in the last few days with some people that I consider close friends of mine that are not Black.
Mhm.
And the reason I did that was because there were certain things that took place that I wanted to understand why certain things were done, like different organizations that I'm a part of that maybe has multiple multicultural organizations, and that certain decisions were made. So I want to know why. And I've had conversations with people that I know um, feel a certain way, but that I don't believe are racist. They don't understand. And they don't understand why we say Black Lives Matter. They don't understand why we say, well, we don't know who we are. They don't understand well, but why do you have to, not that we have, don't get me wrong, I do not condone violence or when people will go and destroy things, but I certainly understand where it came from. Okay. We didn't start looting and rioting. I mean, because we did get looted and rioted. Black Wall Street was looted and rioted and burned down to the ground. So these things were going on way before. I mean, we were beat to stay in line. I mean, isn't that violence? So we learned it over time, and we were taught to do, even with children, spare the rod, spare the rod, spoil the child, all this stuff. So I've had some conversations with people trying to, not even arguing, because these people are people that I care about. So I do care about what they think. And I had conversations in order to explain out. And real quick, I'm going to tell you a quick one. One person said to me, yeah, but when the Jewish people, are complaining or protesting, it's because they are fighting for their culture, for their history and their arts to be returned to them. I said, what? So we didn't get our history and art and name and families torn apart and taken from us? And they looked at me like, what? I said, the difference is at least they received some type of reparations. We never received that. We just got, oh, you're free. And we didn't even know when that really happened. And just go out there and do it. Do it how? We have families and people starving. We can't even grow no food because we don't have nowhere to plant it. I said, what about that? I said, and then they can trace their roots. They know where they came from. We don't even know where we came from. I said, do you understand that? And when I got done, it was like, oh my God, I have so much research and just things I need to think about. I said, yeah, it's misinformed, misguidance over your life. Because we all grow up with different biases, just by the way we're taught. And so I find the opportunities to talk to people that I really care about, that I know will actually give me what they really feel, so I can give them what I really feel and we can talk about it. Because not everybody's gonna do that. Some people gonna come to you, their mind gonna be made up. So
I agree.
yeah.
All right, so because we're trying to keep this show time down. So when I read that quote, the part that y'all really don't want to touch, part we gonna get to the point, Black people gonna get to the point where it's like, I'm out of here, I can't take it no more. I didn't take it literally, and I could be wrong. He could have been thinking of a literal place. I took it more of, we're going to get to the point where we're going to start to realize that we need to focus on our own community. We need to focus on, you know what, we come to the realization this country was not built for us. So we need to focus on making this country work for us. Does that make sense? And so movements like, since we last talked, movements like Black Lives Matter. Okay. I mean, not Black Lives Matter, Blackout Day 2020. Today, we've gotten to the point where it's like, and I actually saw people on CNN talking about the movement. So it must be significant. I don't know how, we'll find out, I guess, tomorrow, how much of an impact it's had. But I actually posted just something simple as raise your hand if you didn't spend a dime today. And that post has gone viral. My post went viral today. So if that's not an indication of, people raising their hand, I ain't buy a doggone thing. Like,
Yeah.
that's a movement.
I ain't buy nothing.
That's us getting to the point where we like, you know what, I'm out of here. We out of your economy. We realize what time it is. We realize that we are the biggest buying power, and this is what we gonna do. So that's kind of how I took it. Even this year, a lot of us celebrated more than ever Juneteenth. You just brought it up. That is the day that we were officially deemed free. Everybody, every Black person was free in June 19th, 1865. So we're getting there. Now we're starting these movements. It's a lot of people starting. The panelists that I spoke on yesterday, it's a lot of people considering starting their own businesses, trying to keep the money in the community, in our own community. Like, we're getting to the point where it's like, you know what? We tired. We're tired. And that 4th of July, that's not our holiday. And we understand that ain't our holiday. And y'all gonna understand that we know it's not our holiday.
So let me ask you this about that. If is it wrong to say, okay, I celebrate Juneteenth, obviously, because that would be my history.
Mm-hmm.
But then to celebrate the 4th of July.
Oh, listen, I celebrated too. But you know what my shirt said? It was red, white, and blue, and it said free-ish 1865.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I think that obviously this is new for some. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I've known about, but it's new for some. And I saw a lot of people upset, and I think upset more out of ignorance, of right. Not knowing why. Because I don't think we would denounce America's,
No, I'm an American. I was born here.
Exactly. And I ain't going nowhere. My ancestors built this country.
Yes.
So I'm not
my whole point is
I ain't going nowhere. So but I just I don't want it to be that is not, we can never, we got to denounce that, because I don't know.
Can I say this?
Myself?
Long before Blacks had even rights, we fought for this country. And a good friend of mine who served to the highest level in the military as a woman was kind of offended that we were offended. She was like, I celebrate 4th of July because I fought for this America. I fought for the freedoms that you so, maybe even ignorantly, enjoy. And it's, and when I read her post, it was so.
Uh-oh.
What happened?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
You lost me with my earplugs. But when I read her post, I was like, most of African Americans have family members that have served this country.
Yeah.
A lot of American Blacks lost their lives fighting for this country.
Yeah, well, fighting for freedom in these wars for this country,
right?
Which is why, we celebrate them because of that. But
so, I can only speak for myself. My stance was, I'm going to celebrate the 4th of July, but we're going to acknowledge that African Americans are a part and we make this country great too.
Yes.
We're a part of it. We help build it. So don't deny us and forget that we are just as American as you are. So that's where I was coming from. Now I can't speak for everybody else, but now I'm celebrating Juneteenth and I'm celebrating the 4th of July.
Yeah. And I just
celebrate
think as a people, we need to start trying to get that message out there.
Yeah.
Get the actual truth about what Juneteenth is, and not be, oh, we celebrate this and now this is not our holiday. Because I think, to me, that is not right. I mean, you just don't say, okay, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think what we have to, what I did, that is 4th of July is my holiday, but that's another reason why I'm gonna support a Black business. That's another reason why I'm going to buy my barbecue from a Black owner.
That's
you understand what I'm saying? That's another reason why I'm going to do what I can to make it known that African Americans are a part of the United States of America.
Yes.
We are just as American. No one else is more American than we are, basically.
Yes.
So that's
I think there was a lot of misunderstanding behind that. When I read, of course, like I said, you're always going to have some people that are just so ignorant, no matter what, you can't explain to them. But then there was some that totally were like lost. They didn't know. I know on Juneteenth, I tried to post a post that explained it somewhat. And I think that going forward, I'm sure it's going to happen more now, because more people are more inclined to understand why we should express how we feel about the holiday that we were truly supposed to be free.
And really know all of your history.
Yes, that's right.
There were free slaves before, 2 years before. They were already free.
Yes.
And so it wasn't like nobody knew.
Yeah.
There were a whole lot of people that knew. Well, I say a whole lot, but I want us to not be bandwagon people, be studiers of our history. We should be.
Know our history.
No, not in N-O, but K-N-O-W.
Yes. It's very important, because if not, it makes us look ignorant, like we would go against something that our ancestors died trying to get the rights that we wanted to get to. It just took longer, but that we volunteered for a lot of the military engagements that we were a part of, in the thinking that it would get us free, or that it would get us certain liberties and rights. And so we volunteered to do that. I mean, when you look at the Vietnam War, and there were way more Blacks fighting in that war than we can even imagine. And so
they were drafted,
and some volunteered to go back after they were drafted. I know, because my father was one of them who was wounded.
Sorry to cut y'all off, but we got a time frame. But you spoke on that point, and I want you all to know this too. Check out Spike Lee's new movie. I can't think of the name of it right now. Google Spike Lee. Yes, Google Spike Lee's new movie, and it's about that. It covers Black men who fought in the Vietnam War, and so it's a pretty good movie. Y'all watch that. So I'm gonna switch, because we need to get the police brutality, and I'm gonna hit on several things that have happened since our last conversation, and then Miss Kiki is gonna enlighten us, because she's in the police force and she kind of knows the insides of what's happening and what has happened since we last talked. So since we last talked, there was a death in Atlanta. It was a young man shot. And since we last talked, Atlanta didn't play. They moved that process along really quickly. Those officers have been arrested, correct?
Yeah.
And so they moved that along. And so I'm sure all of you know about that. And so justice, we hope, will be served. And then we've had 10 officers in South Florida. I actually wanted to talk about this. Where is it? According to the Centersquare.com Florida edition, 12 members of the Florida Police Chiefs Association, which is called FPCA, are working on best practices language using 8 can't wait guides. All right. And there's 8 things that they're going to focus on, which I'm going to get to. But in that article, it also highlighted the fact that there were 10 officers that tendered their resignations from the SWAT team, and they resigned from the SWAT team, basically. And then we've had a lot of chief of police, a lot of police officers resign, call out. All of that's been happening as a result of, I guess, everything that's going on in the police reform situation. And so there's a lot of things, a lot of different dynamics happening in the police force right now. And I especially wanted Kiki to come on and talk about some of the things that she's seeing. But before I let her do that, let me just talk to you about those 8.
No. Let me just touch on that in the whole thing, because I already have it up.
Go ahead.
This is right here, right? This, you see it?
We can't see it.
It's
girl okay.
Well, anyways, I have it. 8 can't wait. So in the 8 can't wait, one is about the chokehold, one is requiring de-escalation, requiring a warning before you shoot, exhaust all alternatives before shooting, duty to intervene, ban shooting and moving cars, establish use of force continuum, and require all use of force be reported. So the reason I know about that campaign is because in my department, I'm not going to say the name or anything like that, but in my department, we pretty much cover all of that. And I don't see why it would not be a campaign that any organization probably would not jump on. There was maybe one thing here that we were just going to tweak a little bit to add a little more to it, a little more meat and potatoes to the verbiage in policy, but pretty much everything that's here, I'm already accustomed to. And I don't see why a police agency would not jump on this or had not already had this, like the ban on chokeholds. I mean, that should be something that is a life or death situation anyways. I mean, because we know that someone could die. We knew that before this situation happened with Mr. Floyd. There are some things here that obviously we can't just take and nail it shut and think that, oh my God, they have that on there, and if they adopt policies to fit this, that it will never happen. For example, a warning shot before shooting. That may not happen all the time. It depends on the situation. It depends on how fast the situation is escalating, and the officer may not have time to give, to say, hey, I'm going to shoot you. He may not have time to do that. That's the honest truth. But in all aspects, if there is time, you always want to do that. And of course, we always teach de-escalation and alternatives before shooting. That's why we have less than lethal things such as the taser, such as OC spray, such as hand-to-hand combat. So there always should be some form of these 8 can't wait in place. Unfortunately, we have found some agencies that don't have all 8 or don't have not even 6, which is baffling to me. You asked me earlier about reform.
Yeah, you mentioned qualified immunity. That's the hot topic.
Yeah, that is a hot topic. And so that is a hot topic because it talks about money. It talks about not keeping the officer financially liable for certain things. And right now, I don't think that is going to happen like that. It appears that the Democrats want that and the Republicans do not. I really don't see that happening. I really don't. I think there's some Democrats that don't want that either. So
go. Y'all froze for a second. Go ahead.
Oh, we did. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't think that is something that's going to come off and happen right away. I really don't. I know that the parties, I can't even tell you that all Democrats want that. And there's a reason for it.
And then pause, y'all. So what she's talking about is qualified immunity. She's saying she doesn't think that's going to happen right away.
No, no.
And they might have missed what qualified immunity is.
It talks about the civil liability for police officers when they do something wrong, holding them civilly liable. So I don't believe that will happen. No. And then importantly with the reform. So when it comes to reform, I personally believe it has to be meaningful reform. And I think that meaningful reform doesn't just include training. I hear a lot of people talk about, oh, training, they need more training, they need more diversity training, they need more. If you know how much implicit bias, diversity training, cultural diversity training, if you knew how much is being done in larger police department, I can't speak on, smaller ones, but mid to larger police agencies, you will find that you can train somebody all you want while they're sitting in a classroom listening to a lecture, or even if they had to answer questions back to the instructor.
Right.
People know what to say and what to do. You wonder how people have been in particular positions for so many years and not been caught, when you know clearly that there had to be something going on with that person prior to. It's because people can mask what's really in their heart.
They can play the game.
They can play the game. And that's why I personally just believe that it needs to be better practices in other areas. For one, like on the 8 Can't Wait, it talks about documentation. One of them is documentation. And in the documentation, if I can open it back up very quickly, require all force be reported. So all force is reported. It's just, well, in my agency, some agencies may not be, but I would say when it's reported, how are they tracking it with that officer? How are they keeping up, which we have a tracking system, by the way. How are they keeping up with the tracking of it, and then going back and sitting down with that officer if they see that this person has now accumulated X amount of use of forces? Even when it's blatant that it may not be their fault or their fault, it doesn't matter. If they get any kind of write-up, even if it could be an accident, we still need to go back and find out what's going on. Do they have some kind of health issue? Are they falling asleep because they're working too many off-duty hours and not getting enough sleep? So it could be something as minor as a traffic crash, a traffic accident. But any type of discipline or complaints or use of force, it has to be tracked, so that we don't have like what was going on when you had the gentleman in Mr. Floyd's case. You open up his file and he has all these complaints, or, and you're like, wait a minute. So nobody followed up on these complaints. So after so many, we have quarterly, I believe ours is still quarterly. I've been kind of far removed from that for a little bit, but if I'm not mistaken, it's quarterly. And if you keep popping up quarterly, we're going to bring you in and you're going to have a talk with your supervisor. Like, it goes up the chain. So you don't just come in and have a little sidebar. No, it's very formal, because we have to look you in your eyes and know. And I'm not saying it's perfect, because again, people can mask things, but we try our best.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's one. I do believe that. Yeah, I believe that has to be, that nothing will be perfect, but we need to try our best to perfect that piece. Okay. The other thing is
qualified immunity, or the documentation piece.
The documentation piece, because people will say, well, why were they still working there? We have to have documentation. You can't just go and fire somebody, unless it's blatant, because then they get their jobs back. Why would we want to do that only to have them get their jobs back? Then that was useless, unless it's something blatant. So we definitely want to make sure we have the documentation down down better. And as far as other best practices, hiring from the community, hiring officers from your communities. I think that we should look at better ways to solicit them, you know, even if it's to offer them some type of discounting for home ownership, to bring that back, to bring that education back, to bring, you know, give them in a sense, listen, if you start, you have a degree, you'll start at this, which we do have that, because all of that shows maturity. We know that when you're able to go to college and finish over a period of time, it shows a sense of discipline. And sometimes some of these jobs, they don't require you to have a college degree. I mean, we can have in my agency, you can have a GED or high school diploma and be 19. So I do believe that there's immaturity in that. They've never had any life experiences. And for that to be their first job, even if they're there for 10 years at 19, that still may not mean that they've gone through anything or have experienced anything. But I do think that we need to go back, look at hiring practices, hire from the community, find better ways to solicit officers from the community. Then you will know Mrs. whoever's son on the corner that was raised up in the neighborhood, you know, you'll know where his auntie lives down the street, you know, you'll get out your car and want to talk to them and want to knock on their door and say, hey, I just came by to see how you're doing. You know, I think that we try our best to do good community policing in my particular agency. But I know that has been a concern. Why aren't officers from the community seen, or people from the community seen as officers in that same community? That has been a concern. So,
all right, so
reform, I just don't think reform goes this. I don't have the same thought process on reform that other people have, because I think that we do all this training, and if it's in their heart, it's in their heart. We need to document.
It kind of goes back to what we said in the first show.
Yeah, we need to document and get them out of there.
But these are all questions that we all need to consider when we are trying to decide who we're going to vote for in the primaries. These are all the things that we need to ask. I'm sure this is going to be a hot topic in the presidential debate. So I'm trying to wrap it up, and this kind of leads us into, at this point, as citizens, really and truly, the most that we can do right now is stay home and be ready to vote.
Yes.
And I wanted Misty to tell the public why again, for the 50 millionth time, why voting in the primaries is so essential. You're on mute, Miss.
I said, I hope I'm not an Avenger and completely like fade away with this crazy backdrop. But every election is important. I'll say it again. Every election is important. I don't care who's on the ballot, what's on the ballot, how often the ballots appear, go vote. Primaries are very crucial in terms of not only local elections, but also both your congressional elections and other ballot questions, constitutional questions.
Yes, law.
You know, there are a lot of things on the ballot, and you don't want to wait till the general election because you think you're just voting for a presidential candidate, because you have congressional candidates on. Again, you have state candidates on. And then local candidates, you know, they say all politics are local. I agree with that in part, but because you feel their presence and you see their work more apparent, local elections are very important. And so don't miss out on that. Primaries also give you a Democrat or a Republican ballots. All primaries are not open, and people don't realize that either. So sometimes you go and you'll be like, well, I don't have my candidate of choice on this ballot. Well, if you're a registered Democrat, you're going to get a Democratic ballot. If you're a Republican candidate, voter, you're going to get a Republican ballot. It's not like that throughout the nation, but in the state of Florida, at least here, our primaries are closed. And so you want to be sure that you vote early on, because your candidate may not make it to the general election in November. And then primaries here in the state of Florida, especially a lot of the local elections, it's almost winner takes all. So you won't see them again in November. So your candidate of choice may not even be on the ballot, and you'll be like, what happened? How did they win? I thought they were going to be on a November ballot. No, they actually can win in August, straight out. A lot of local elections are nonpartisan, which means it's not Democrat or Republican where you get a separate ballot. They will all be on the ballot for you to vote. So it is extremely important, this election and every election, but we have a lot at stake on this election. And I know we say that a lot, but I think people are feeling the burn of, I got to do something. I got to be a part. Well, this is a part that you don't want to miss. This is the fundamental right that people died for. It is not
fought in those wars for.
Yeah, it's not it is the truth. People died for this right that they couldn't even have, and their parents and grandparents. And so as we were talking about racism and what we're feeling and how we're hurting now, this is our opportunity really to have our voices heard. So that's why, in a nutshell.
And so just so you know, Misty, I'm going to be reaching out to you and Kim, because I've already started getting texts about the Wakanda slate. So just get ready, and Kiki, you're more than welcome to join us. But it's a popular show, and people have already. Melanie, are you gonna put out the Wakanda slate, because that's what I use? So we're gonna have that conversation. I'll reach out to my sorority sister Kim McCrae to come on for that too. But it's so important that we all vote, because right now that's the leverage. That's the leverage that we have. It's really, everything else we can do what we can. We're trying to support the Black dollar and, stay safe and all of that. But when it comes down to making some real change happens, it's going to take us to vote. And voter suppression is real. We've seen it in Kentucky. They're going to try all tricks, all things to keep us out of the voting poll. So do what you got to do. Register to vote. Do what you got to do. I already said I'm gonna be there on first day of primary.
Take you a chair, take you some water, and some comfortable shoes.
Do what you gotta do, man. I'm willing to take the risk. I'm gonna risk my life to go vote. Like, for real, it's serious.
And can I share this? 2 plugs. One, I did want to remember to tell you that to register for the census is www.2020census.gov. But talking about your protections at the polling place, there are ballot or legislation going through many of this nation's legislatures that are asking for not only vote by mail, but drop off voting locations, so that we are trying to remain socially distanced from each other and practice great protocols. And so it's in Miami-Dade County, and I'm sure in Broward County, they're going to have where you can just drive up and literally drop off your ballot without having any contact with face-to-face. If you are that diehard person that has to just feel like they got to go to the poll, just feel like they got it, feel like they're a part of it. I'm a big proponent of early voting.
Yes, early voter.
And just get there, get your ballot. Vote by mail is what we are pushing this year. I'll go online or call your Department of Elections and get a vote by mail. Back then, it used to be for college students and old people. Now it's for everyone. I vote because I don't take for granted that my Tuesday is going to be available, or something may crazy happen, or you know, you never know. And so I want to make sure that my vote is being counted. So what else, Mel?
The last day to register. What's the last day to register?
Okay, now you're gonna have to make me go online. I should know this already.
That's July the
While she's looking for that, our primaries, just so y'all know, it takes place during August. Hold on, I had it written down. August 8th through August 15th. So y'all got time, but we need to get it together because they're gonna play all kind of tricks are being played. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
But we need to show up and show out the same way we did for Obama. We need to show up and show out. And notice, I didn't even mention the West, Kanye West. I'm not even going.
Oh. That's a distraction. We don't need any distractions.
Don't even play.
Yeah.
I'm not even going. For real. And that's my opinion. Y'all can take it to the bank, whatever. I'm not. All right. And
so I'm not going to play with you all with these dates. I encourage you to go on the Department of Election for the state of Florida, because there are different deadlines. Now there's a deadline to ask for a vote by mail. What I look like, it looked like it already passed on July 4th. I'm hoping that's not true, so I don't want to give that information out without verifying that. But go on the Department of Election, either miami-dade.gov or broward.gov, Department of Elections.
Somebody posted by July 20th, but y'all double check.
Primary, the deadline for the
July
primary
20th.
July 20th. Yes.
Thank you.
Go by check. Double check.
Yes. Do your research. Make sure that you have that in, and have all the people in your household not only register for the census, but register for vote by mail. Vote by mail is just an avenue that saves you a whole lot of headache, and people don't know you can take that vote by mail to your polling place on the election day if you just have to just see somebody.
Don't wait till for real. This is from Melanie. If you're gonna do vote by mail, don't wait till the last minute, y'all. For real. Send that stuff off a week or more in advance, as early as you can. Don't wait till the last minute, because you take the chance that it won't be counted. So
and remember, there's gonna be a lot of laws, a lot of things changing. Please research these laws, these different changes, understand the language. This is why everybody is now so in shock. And when they say, well, if I was a regular person, I would have been arrested. If there was a regular person, they would have been arrested by now. Well, guess what? Law enforcement officers are not just that regular. There are things in the language that gives them certain clarity. So read it, understand it.
So that you just gave me a plug. So y'all make sure you follow Girl What. Follow at Team Shen Enterprises so that you are always abreast, because we have a show where we break down. I mean, we break it down so that it's crystal clear. Like, we give that voting primaries 101, so it's crystal clear when you walk in there what you need to do. So y'all stay tuned. I have my expert panel. They come on and they break it down. We even had somebody bring the ballot the last time, and we went line by line. So when y'all see that, bring your ballot, your sample ballot, bring it. We're gonna go through it. So when you walk in there, you already know what you gotta do. Okay? Yes. And that's real. So follow at Girl What. Follow at Team Shen Enterprises. Again, I am Mel Shen. I am an educator. I am a serial entrepreneur, but I am very passionate about my people. Team Shen is all about empowering passion, purpose, and people. I pay for this out of my pocket. My friends, they come on, they volunteer their time, because we all are very, very passionate about empowering the Black community to impart the knowledge that we have and share everything that we know, because we have our hands in the community. And so it's all in love. It's all for the betterment of the greater good at the end of the day. So we have fun, we laugh, we talk about light topics here and there, entertainment, but this is a very informative show for the purpose of getting us ready for whatever we need to be ready for. So on that note, ladies, y'all have anything else y'all want to say? Did I miss anything?
Great
I know
job as you
I left off like individual situations that have happened with the police recently. But I'm sure all of us are well aware of those things. I really wanted to make sure that Kiki explained what we're up against, the different things that are in place that protect police, to get us to start researching and understanding what our rights are. So if you have any other questions, shoot them to me. Feel free, send me a message. I'll ask Kiki for you. And I'll get back to you. But again, follow at Team Share Enterprises. This is my husband. We are both owners of Team Share Enterprises, and Girl What is one of my babies. Follow Team Share and you'll find out everything that we do. But again, everything that we do lends itself right back to empowering passion, purpose, and people. So I always end with a scripture. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube page too. Do that too. Girl What, everything. Okay? Follow all of it.
Girl What.
That's what I need you to do. That's your assignment for today. Missy just fell out the chair.
Yeah.
Follow all of it. You're gonna learn a lot rolling with this with me and my crew. You're gonna learn a lot. All right, anyway. So the scripture for today and every day, except for the last show, but I'm going back to what I always say. Colossians 1:16. Colossians 1:16. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him, our lovely Heavenly Father in Jesus Christ, and for him. And so on that note, ladies, y'all ready? We love y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging in there. But you have been listening to for the last, I try to get us out quick, but it's almost an hour and a half, y'all. But we had a lot. We did good though. It was pretty structured. We did okay. All right, so you've been listening to, y'all gonna say it with me? Girl. Bye. Love y'all.
Bye.
Be safe. Stay out of trouble. Stay away from COVID.
Please.
Peace and blessings.